Now that we've given the form to our students and we ask that they fill it out, we need to check at what they call the responses. So instead of living on the questions tab like we've been creating the form, we want to click on responses. And then we see a nice overview of what's going on with this quiz. We'll be able to see the average number of points, median values, and the range. You'll also see frequently missed questions and the total number in red of correct responses. So they're red because they are low out of the total number of responses given. You'll see scores. Anytime that you see release scores, this is like us passing back papers to the student. If we release the score as a teacher, we basically tell the students that this is your grade. As you scroll down, you'll be able to see the questions, and then the green indicates a correct answer, gray is an incorrect answer, and you'll be able to see the breakdown. So 58% of the students said this as the correct answer. You'll be able to see all the other questions as you scroll down. Most of the way that teachers will use the grading, though, they'll either look by question, where we're going question by question grading. This is really nice if you're trying to do a short answer question and you want to look at just that one question to grade. So what we'll see is this is the question here listed underneath, and then we'll see all the different options for responses. So basically, student said these three were the correct answer, and this is correct because we told Google it's correct, and they received 10 points out of 10. Then some students said this one was the correct answer, this one was incorrect, and this one was correct. So here as a teacher, I can give partial credit. If I want to give partial credit, I can say 5 out of 10 points, and then I can actually say mark this correct by giving it a check mark. As you go through, you can leave feedback for students by clicking add feedback, provide some information for that student, as well as a link or a YouTube video as a resource. Again, I want to mention that YouTube videos do not always play for students. Some videos are blocked because YouTube blocks videos. So be very careful if you're trying to provide a video for students because YouTube may actually block it for them. At the bottom, you'll see edits are pending. We have to save our changes in order for them to stick. So we can save. The other way to navigate to questions is to click the drop down and we can switch to a different question and look at those responses. Here we're looking at a true-false question, so it's not too exciting, but anything that has a short answer question is a great way to grade because you can look at what they're working on. So a student basically provided this answer. I can either mark it as incorrect or correct and give partial credit. The other option to grade is instead of question, we can go into individual. This is like grading a stack of papers. Instead of looking at questions, I'm looking at what this one student has said, and as I go down, I'm basically looking at their piece of paper. So question number 1, Jane has said this answer. I can give credit. I can again do partial credit, give feedback. Going on to the next question, it's literally like I'm looking at their sheet of paper, and I can use the arrows to navigate to the next student, or use the drop down to go to a specific student that I know. Over on the right side, you can actually delete their response. Sometimes we allow multiple attempts, and if you ever need to delete the response, you can click the trash can. Just be very careful if you do that because this action cannot be undone. The printer icon will allow you to print out their work. So if I click this, it's going to try to print a PDF of what Jane has said. So this is nice to bring for any kind of meeting that you might have with a student or guardian, so you can actually review their work and see their learning gains. The last thing that most people will do to look at responses is to create a spreadsheet. This green icon over here on the right side is a great option if you want to send all this data to a spreadsheet and do some more analysis. It's going to ask you, would you like to create a new spreadsheet? It'll usually have the name of your quiz that you've titled, and then responses after that in parentheses. As a rule, we usually think it's a best practice to go ahead and leave it like that, because if I make a form and I know that there's data associated with it, I want them to have the same name, and I always know that Google loves to put responses in parentheses at the end. So I think that's okay. We're going to say create. It's going to open a new tab where we'll be able to see all of our student responses. I'm going to move over to a quiz that we already have some responses. Some quizzes will look like this. What we're noticing is that all the columns are going to be our questions. First, we'll start out with a timestamp, so basically when people have submitted their form. Email address, because we always want to know who has said what. This is like Google putting the kid's name on the paper, so we always want to collect email addresses. Check out the settings video if you want to know how to do that, but you always really want to do that. Score is going to be what Google has said. Period. Some teachers ask this question on a quiz. If they teach more than one class period and it's the same prep, they will say as a question on the quiz, what class period are you in? That way we can go through the data and we can actually filter out for second period or third period students. Then you'll see the first question, the second question moving from left to right, we have the third question, and so on. Then if we look at the rows, what we're going to notice is that every student has a row. So basically every submission that they turn in is going to have their work. So reading from left to right, I have basically the time that they submitted, their email address, their score, their period, and then how they've answered this question. This gives you a nice snapshot, so if you want, you can do some data analysis. Most teachers will want to sort and filter because we want to check out if kids have done retakes, we want to look at certain class periods, we want to look at kids that maybe have missed a certain question. So to do that, you can click on the filter button. But I want you to notice that I have something selected. I have this row selected, it's blue. I always want to just click in one cell so there's only one box selected, and then click on this filter button. That means that all of my data will be sorted and filtered together. I'm not going to have any data move without the rest of it. When I do that, you'll notice that everything is blue. That's letting me know visually that all of my data is selected. And then next to each header, I see this little upside down triangle looking icon. That's my sort and filter button for each column. So if I wanted to go to my period and sort this by class period, I could click on that green icon. I could do what's called sort to A to Z. That's going to be alphabetical or from small to big if we're talking about numbers. So I ask what class period and their numbers. I'm going to sort A to Z. And then all my data rearranges. So now I have first period on top, second period, and so on. If I want to filter, I could click the same icon. And then down here in the middle part of the menu option, I have these answers. These are answer choices with little check marks. Basically, if it's checked, I am looking at that data. So if I want to see just first period students, I can clear all those check marks and then say first period and then say OK. What we'll see is the data is just for first period kids. I could again change this. Maybe I want to see third period. I could just uncheck first, choose third, and say OK. And now I'm looking at third period kids. What we love about sorting and filtering this way is that we never lose our data. We never delete our data. If you look on the left, we have our row numbers. It goes from 1 to 12, and then from 22 to 40. It'll skip any rows that it's hiding, basically, if we filter. So the student data is always there living for us. It's not like we're actually deleting anything out. If I want to bring back all of my data, I've noticed that my little filter icon is dark green, and that's because I am filtering out certain things. If I want to undo that, I can click that green filter icon and then say select all. That will select all my data. When I say OK, now everything is back and I see all of my class periods like before.